June 28th, 2018. Annapolis embodied the country's postcard waterfront town. Greens and blues of the Chesapeake Bay competing for attention among antique shops, jumbo lump crab cakes, and the grand history of the U.S. Naval Academy. Later that afternoon in this building, its community newspaper became a tragic proper noun. Sandy Hook, Parkland, and now the Capital Gazette. Across the street, in the cramped, hot corridors of a vacant department store, law enforcement told family and loved ones to come and wait, until the wailing and convulsive sobs began. 5 lives, 3 widows, a fiancé who wouldn't see his wedding day, and a 20-year-old who would never see her mom again. It was their first night stepping into the lonely quiet when they were forced to join America's fastest-growing support group, trauma survivors of mass shootings.
When I think of home, I think of you. Think about your stars, beautiful view.
I was at work. I was at my desk and I got a text, and it was from my old boss, and she worked in Annapolis, and she said, "Have you heard from your mom recently?" And I'm thinking to myself, I saw her 2 days ago. She texted me last night. And I was like, no. And she calls me, "Honey, there's been a shooting." I go to call mom, and it rings, and it just goes to voicemail. That second, I knew. It literally just felt like everything stopped. Grabbed her recycling can and just said no, and said, "You get out of here," and just ran at him. They said she said it like a dog peeing on a carpet, and I hear like the angry mom voice of like, "No." Like, I hear. The last time I saw her, we had dinner, and like I didn't want to leave. Like, we were having such a good conversation. We were laughing a lot. And it just felt good. And so it feels like that was kind of taken away from me, like this opportunity to have a really good relationship with her. Like, this has a meaningful tone to it to be here. It's like, I've only ever been here with her. Like, literally, this was like just like the place we would go to. So, yeah. I didn't even like remember what the inside looked like. Like, I just have not come in here.
It was like 2 or 3 days before.
2.
2 days.
I saw her here on the 26th. We were probably there for like 2 hours. She always got crab cakes. Like, no matter where she went, she'd be like, "I want the crab cakes." And it was my treat. And so I was like, "Get whatever you want." She's like, "Hey, so I thought you would like these." And pulls out the ugliest pair of shoes I've ever seen in my life. She's like, "I don't know, I just really thought you would like them." And I was like, no, but thank you, Mom. They were old shoes. And so when we went to her house after the shooting, I went and found the shoes. Literally the second she didn't pick up the phone, it was like gravity. It was like, whew, like everything just hit the ground. And I'm texting my family group chat. We're all in different time zones, and I think my sister-in-law called me, and my sister calls me, and I was like, "I don't know what's happening, but I don't feel good about this." They're trying to calm me down, and I'm the only one in the state. And they're like, "Have you checked this hospital? Have you checked this hospital?" And I didn't even want to call the hospitals. I was like, she's not there. Like, I know this building. I know even if someone targeted this randomly, I was like, they're the first door. That's the first target. And eventually we were going down to the like family reunification center, and we go up to the door, and one of the cops is like, who are you waiting for? And I said, Wendy Winters. And he said, oh, she's been moved to a secondary location. And I was like crying. They are saying this because she's dead. I know that they're not telling me the truth because they can't tell it to me yet. And I was like, all right, we'll wait. We will go in there and we'll wait. And we walk in there, and there is like 4 people in there. No one that was in there got reunified with their family that day. And then finally, it's probably like 8 o'clock. Someone comes over and like tells me like what I already know. And then they asked how I wanted to tell my family. They were like, do you want us to call? And I was like, I can't just like have strangers call them. So I went up to the top level of Warden Taylor and like crawled into a closet, and I had them all on the phone, and I had to say, Mom was one of the victims and she didn't make it. And it was just silent. And so in our group chat, it's just, thank you, Summer. You did a really good job. Because I was the one that had to tell everyone. And that was really hard.
You're so young. You're the baby of the family.
Yeah. I mean, I hate saying I'm the baby these days because that's what Mom would say. She'd be like, this is my baby. It's me. I'm your baby. Like last week, I had a dream about Mom. Previously, like she was alive in my dreams. Like I was maybe like kind of in denial. But then in this one, I don't know what it was, but I was like, this is dead Mom. I think this is kind of like me like accepting it. Reality is like setting in. Having your mom be the victim of a mass shooting, it's just exhausting. Like going out in crowds is scary because I don't trust anybody anymore. Like all of a sudden you feel like everybody's a target, especially because people keep getting shot. Like there's mass shootings all the time. Like it happened to someone in my family, and now I'm just like, who's it gonna be next? The anxiety, just the day-to-day anxiety is insane. Like I could be anywhere and something bad could happen. It's just like an overwhelming sense of dread. I can't believe a year has almost gone by. My life got kicked into hyperspeed. Like 11 months ago, like it was hard to just wake up for work. It felt like I was carrying boulders, but now like I've allowed myself to be a little more vulnerable and talk a little more openly about not just everything that happened, but like how it made me feel. It was really rough in the beginning where the whole city is like grieving with you. A lot of people want to express their condolences and then they kind of fade away. It's almost a year later, the brain fog is lifting a little, like I'm more capable of talking about it. But there isn't exactly like this crowd of people clamoring to talk to me like there was before. And of course I have great friends and family. It's almost like the support is there when it's just too much. Like you have everyone wanting to touch you at once and you're like, I don't want anyone to touch me. And now I'm like, I could use a helping hand.
Stories like this are always wrenching and sometimes hard to watch. But it's especially important that you give these brave and resilient women your time and attention tonight on the 1-year anniversary of the day their lives changed forever. One of them was Andrea Chambly, the widow of sports writer John McNamara. From the moment I found out John was among the 5 killed, this became that much more personal for me. We knew each other, mostly from Maryland college basketball games in College Park at the Terps on-campus arena. We often sat next to each other on press row and talked basketball, life, and everything in between, including trying in vain to hold our own on the court against men half our age. Then we'd go write our stories in the press room for our respective newspapers and go home to our wives. It's one thing, of course, to know a mass shooting victim in America. It's quite another to have been married to him for 33 good years.
I start to introduce myself as the widow of John McNamara. And I really want to say that I'm the wife of John McNamara, but the W letter doesn't come out quite right, and I have to say I'm the widow of John McNamara. And it's changed everything. It's changed my identity. It's changed people's response to me. It's changed what I think of myself. It's a big life change. Most of the people I've talked to talk about journaling. I did try, instead of journaling, to kind of use the Facebook posts as my journal and to just capture one thing a day so that someday if the fog ever lifts, I'll be able to look back on it and try to remember how I feel. Although part of me thinks I won't want to remember how I feel.
For every day, for nearly a year, Andries had to deal with something so bizarre and wrong that she came up with the hashtag absurdity of the day. Her first absurdity of the day Facebook post came after MetLife denied a claim on John's life insurance policy.
The life insurance company said I had to prove I wasn't the shooter, because most people who are shot by their romantic partner.
This is over the phone or in a letter?
It was in a letter. The letter said it was denied and gave a telephone number for me to call. And when I called, that was the explanation they gave. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, I got a call back from some vice president who apologized. He said he Googled my name and they were going to pay the claim. But I still don't know what the other families have to do, because most shooting victims don't have something to Google. That was when I started writing Absurdity of the Day, I think. Absurdity of the Day. John loved our covered patio in the back, and if he were here today, he would have been there, listening to the Orioles game on the radio when I got home. The radio is still out there. It's been out there all winter. I hate our covered patio. Sometimes I come home and I say, I hate my house. I hate my house. But I'm gonna hate a new one too.
Are you gonna get a new microwave? Sorry. I figured I'd make you laugh.
So my parents gave us this microwave in 1985 when we got married. And I remember they asked us every time they saw us for a while if we were using it and if we liked it. And John and I decided to look at each other and say, the microwave has changed our lives. Absurdity of the day. I left the popcorn in the microwave for too long and it caught fire. There was no other damage. My parents gave us that microwave when we got married. The microwave lasted longer than we did. I had to drag it outside so the smoke wouldn't set off the smoke alarm.
There's no guidebook for this new normal, Andrea says. Doing laundry for one, cooking for one, sleeping alone. She's also learned some things about herself, things only someone who lost a loved one can know or feel.
I always thought it was possible that I would never get married when I was in school, in grad school, and wanting to be a lawyer. And I suppose if I stuck with that, I wouldn't be a widow now. But if I had the choice of being married to John for only 33 years and never being married to John at all, I want to be married to him for 33 years. He was the best thing that ever happened to me. This is my absurdity of the day for January 29th. I don't want to be brave. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be inspiring. I want to be ordinary again. I want to be married to my sweetheart.
If June 28th had gone the way it was supposed to, that afternoon when I got home from the dog walk that followed the lap swimming, I would have grabbed the novel that I had chosen to read, and I would have curled up in that porch, fallen asleep, and awakened to Rob opening that screen door and saying, "Okay, let's have those birthday crab cakes and a little wine out here on the deck." I mean, that's the way the script was supposed to go. But it didn't. After all that happened last summer, it was tough to hear the birds continue to chirp. It can be a morning with the birds calling extra loudly that can be the most painful, because that makes me think about Rob. I can't make the earth spin backwards and undo it. Tomorrow is actually my wedding anniversary. June is just full of these dates that are a little hard. We used to joke about how, we're the only people, each side of the family, the only couple that hasn't been divorced at least once. We haven't been divorced at all. I didn't foresee that ever going to be a problem, so that's a toughie. You talk about egregious. You talk about a mistake, something that never should have happened. This is the person it should not have happened to. We have some funny memories, including, you buy a hammock, it lasts for so many years, and you never know quite when it's really going to give way, And Rob was in one of them one year, and it was just when it decided to wear out, and down it went onto the ground, and so did he. And he handled it very well. The kids and I were talking about that recently. I've deliberated over whether to put that back up, because it really, really, really reminds me of Rob. I think I'm going to try the hammock. The joke in our family is that I flunked kindergarten. I have no fine motor skills, so that I'm doing this is no small feat, let me just say. Once you've been married a while, you understand the whole need to be together and the need to be apart. And it was not unusual that I would have nap time in the screen porch just a few feet away, and he would have nap time in the hammock. And then he would wake up and he'd say, "Come get in the hammock with me now." And then we would just hang out and stare at the trees, talk about some fun trip he wanted to take that I definitely wanted to take too. So that's what we used to do. These passages, these dates that are going to come around and around and around and around. The 22nd, the wedding anniversary, Father's Day whenever it falls in June, and then the 28th, the day, of course, when the shooting happened. There is this unique, horrible anniversary in that weird thing about the birthday part. It's just so weird. I mean, and yesterday when I made my speech, I had to say, I had to say thank you for this wonderful event in this now horrible month for me. I said, we're coming up on the anniversary, June 28th, which also happens to be my birthday. And these people, you could just hear this collective, the nightmare that I had was that something had happened to him. That was the worst. He would say, well, obviously you just love me so much. I go, well, yes, I do. We're going out Thelma and Louise style, same time, whatever. I don't want to think about it. Well, no, I did not get to write that script. He didn't either. It was tough to get back in this porch that summer. But I'm easing. I'm getting back in there because it's home. Everybody else out there, whatever your loss is, you figure out your way and you do it. And I'm just stumbling my way into mine. That's funny, those of us who have lost people, we see these signs, and that's where I'm going to go back to the birds. This was always, I shouldn't even call it Rob's job. It was like Rob's hobby, his joy, his pleasure to feed the birds. Something I think most of us know as we grow older and more mature and get more scar tissue because we've lost people, you have those people with you. I would say, I can just get bird feed at Wegmans and, oh no, that's not good enough. Got to get the gourmet stuff for the birds. You find ways to have those people with you. You want them with you. That's why you do it. And you can't have them incarnate. And so symbols like, a certain bird call, because that was something Rob appreciated and loved. That's what reminds me of his presence. It's almost metaphorical. The birds keep chirping and I'm gonna be okay. I know that. And I know that's what he would want for the birds and me. He's here in a very different way, a less desirable way, for sure. But still here.
March 5th, absurdity of the day. The woman at the giant food deli counter asks me what my survivor button is for. Me, a mass shooting. Her. My sister and her children were killed by her ex with a gun, but there were only 3 of them, so it didn't count as a mass shooting. They almost got away. They were at the car door. The zombie apocalypse is here. You never know who is a fellow zombie.
She literally lived her life in fear of becoming exactly what happened to her. She took an active shooter training the week before. She was interviewing an advocate for March for Our Lives, and then she dies in a mass shooting. It makes you feel like you're taking crazy pills to have all these coincidences converge. I've literally lost a family member due to lax gun laws in Maryland. And so then when people disagree with you, it feels like a personal attack. And then, you know, people play the blame game of how and why something happened. And it's like, literally, I am telling you exactly what happened. A shotgun was bought legally by someone with prior criminal offenses and known mental health problems and used to kill people. How does that not make sense that gun laws would change that?
In the 1 year since the Capitol Gazette, there have been 29 more mass shootings in America. Gun ownership is a right many Americans defend passionately. But some of us are so thin-skinned, we absorb every gun control proposal as an attack on our constitutional guarantees. To me, this is just common sense. We started this, and we allow it to continue. Really, when did high-powered assault rifles become our new security blankets? Our adult binkies, the stuffed animal for the middle-aged, disenfranchised, angry man. Too many of us make excuses to hold on to our God-given right to bear arms, to the extreme that we pathetically call it our God-given right to bear arms. And when another enraged soul opens fire and kills more of our kids and our loved ones, we steel ourselves, recite talking points, and demean the dead by concluding that being able to purchase a weapon designed to kill many people at once is just an inconvenient part of frontier liberty. For so long, we've tried to make this a black and white issue, devoid of nuance or complexity. And now we finally have. You're either for gun violence protection or gun violence permission. Decide. But before you do, put yourself in the shoes of Summer, Andrea, and Maria, and the thousands of others who are healing after losing a loved one or surviving a mass shooting. Think about their pain, their loss, and the incredible burden they face each day as they try to move forward.
We're the voices that have to represent everything that happened.
100 pounds on my back. I've been going through hell, trying to find